So you just got your first drum set, or you might not be completely comfortable when you're playing the drums. Well, I'm here to help you out. So in this video, we'll go through how you can set up your drums to start playing more comfortably. What's up everyone, CJ here. I remember the day I got my first drum set. I was ecstatic, and I hadn't even had my first drum lesson yet. It was a Pulse drum kit, and it had like a wine red finish, a real beginner's drum set. My parents helped me setting it up, and neither of us really knew how to set up a drum kit. But I think the drums came with some sort of manual. We started looking at different pictures of drum sets on Google to just try to emulate those kind of setups. I don't remember exactly, but it probably looked something like this. So to maybe save you some time, I want to show you how you can set up your drum set for optimal comfort. I'm probably gonna mention this in a lot of other videos, but no matter what you may hear from any other drummer, probably some dude drummer who thinks he knows everything about drumming, know this. There is no right or wrong way how to set up your drums and how you play the drums. As long as you are comfortable behind the kit and produce a good sound, then sky's the limit. Also, by the way, I'm a right-handed drummer, so I'm gonna show the setup of a right-handed kit. If you're a left-handed drummer, you can just apply this in a reversed way for your drums. Now, I'm going to set up my PDP kit that I use for touring and for my drum students for this video. This will be a 5-piece setup, including 1 bass drum, 1 snare drum, 2 rack toms, and 1 floor tom. And of course, including some cymbal stands and the usual cymbals. So let's go. We're gonna start off with the drum throne. Do you know why it's called the drum throne? Because the drummer is the king. The guitar player sits on a stool. Now this kind of differs from person to person. While some drummers like to sit in a 90-degree angle, my recommendation for throne height is that your hips should be slightly above your knees. If you sit too low, your legs will put a lot of pressure on your back and you could suffer from back problems, especially in your lower back. If you sit too high, you can get a little out of balance and tend to get a bit front heavy. Try out different heights until you sit comfortably and with a nice balance. And now for the bass drum, the big boy. Secure the legs and extend them in order to put a slight angle of the drum so the outer rim won't touch the floor. The less pressure on the drum, the better, and you won't risk the rim getting scratched. My tip is, when you've set the height of your throne, just sit like you would sit straight on a chair or a stool with a good posture. Since we usually sit with our legs apart for balance, the bass drum pedal should line up where your right foot is, and your hi-hat pedal should line up where your left foot is. And now for the snare drum, every modern drummer's best friend. Am I right? Now try out some different positions. Just make sure that the snare drum isn't too close to you or too far from you. You want to be able to play nice rim shots on it and hit it with the tip of the drumstick around the center of the drum. The height varies from person to person, but I like to have it a little bit higher than my hips. If your snare drum is too low, you won't play consistent rim shots without hitting your thigh all the time. And if it's too high, you risk just hitting the rim and not the actual drum head. Next up is the floor tom. After I've set up my snare drum, I like to set up the floor tom to basically match the height of the snare drum. Now, for those of you who might have a floor tom that is mounted on a cymbal stand, look what happens depending on how the legs are positioned in relation to the tom. Just for safety, you should position the cymbal stand so one of the legs are parallel to the drum, so you won't risk it falling over. The rack toms. What? Most drum set comes with a tom holder or tom bracket like this. With this, you can set your preferred height and then you can angle the toms with the tom mounts. Depending on what kind of mounting system you have for your toms, you might have a slight limitation to your setup. I prefer to have them kind of close to each other, a bit higher than the snare drum and slightly angled towards me. Depending on the depth of your drum shells, they might scratch against the rim of the bass drum and you will have to raise the toms up a bit and angle them more towards you. Personally, I don't like my toms like this because I don't feel I get the same leverage in my hands if they are this much tilted towards me compared when they are lower and a little bit less tilted. Again, this is a personal preference. Now this is a used drum kit, and as you can see here, the previous owner didn't really care that much about the angle of his or her toms, and this is exactly what happens. The rim and the shell is all scratched up. And last but not least, the cymbals. Now, the cymbals you can put up in whatever way you want. As I said earlier in this video, as long as you are comfortable behind the drums and you deliver a good sound, that's the most important thing. But I do have some important tips for you. You should not tighten your cymbals too tight on the cymbal stand, partly because you will lose the sustain the cymbal was designed to produce. But most importantly, your cymbals will crack much faster because the cymbal won't have the room it needs to vibrate. The second tip is more for those of you who might want to start recording drums eventually. And I'm sorry if this sounds a bit excessive, especially for the beginner drummers out there. This is really a to each their own kind of placement technique. But if you have your toms mic'd up, you should try to place your cymbals as far as comfortably possible away from the toms, or else you'll have cymbal bleed into your tom mics. And unless you want to gate the absolute shit out of your toms, that's your best option. But again, that's up to you. At the end of the day, you should just set up your drums so you'll be able to play with flow and comfort. I hope this video helped you and that you, the new drummers out there, got some nice tips on how to set up your drums. Let me know if you have any questions down in the comment section. I'm looking forward to hear from all of you. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you're not a subscriber yet, then hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to stay updated whenever I release a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and good luck with your drum sets.